right, fellas, let's see what we can do with this one, right? Toro, got a Briggs motor on it. I think it says, does it say 7 horsepower? No, it's got some other, I can't read it. It's been scratched off. Rear drive, right? It's in pretty good shape overall. I don't really like the rear drives and the personal paces. Cabling, rear drive issues, dirt, filth. You want to, if you have to replace the cable and get in there and deal with everything, what you got to do is take the whole back of the thing apart. And this one, you'll see it in a little bit. It actually, the baffle is broken. So common. I generally like to kind of clean up a blade. I might already have one done. So let me see what I have. It's nice out, so I'll do it out there, make the mess out there. I'm going to come in and we're going to kind of get the carburetor going and the engine going. We got to check it all over. One of these, yeah, this is the one I broke a bolt. The bolt that holds this on, this hat on, that's broken in the front. So I washed it already, so it was fighting me a little bit when I took it off. I was doing some pressure washer testing and it just ripped the sticker right off the front. We're going to have to deal with that, right? We got to get some of the sticky off because it's just going to collect dirt. We'll deal with that later. The transmission in the back, I think the cables seem to be working. We got to verify, but they seem to be working. If we can get any lubricate in, that'd be great. Good luck trying to get anything. You got to clean out the whole rear section really, really good on these as a maintenance thing, because if you don't, it's expensive. It's a lot of work. Like I said, you're going to wind up having to take everything apart, getting everything really clean, replace whatever's no good, and then put it back together again. Hopefully we don't have to do that. Let's see what this thing requires to get it running again. So it don't work, it don't start, but when I was pushing on the handle, I saw some movement to the rear drive actuator, and some of them had a disconnect, a shut off, and a cable that went down there as well. Oh, this one doesn't. It's up over here, right? I think. Let me see. Let me make sure if this is the one I picked. Yeah, this one's got the cable over here, which is conventional. Those are the ones I like. I think the other one I have is that when you go to pull the engine bell back, it doesn't work. So some of those are just not worth fixing. Let's see what we can do with it. That's not bad. Right, she was running okay. I got carburetor off. Carburetor looks like I can rebuild it. All right, carburetor's not bad. Just dirty. All right, then we might be able to clean this one up. If not, I have others, but I think we're going to try to clean that one up, right? I'll get to that, and then we'll actually be able to test it in a bit. Let's just check for spark, but before we do, I'm going to take some of my transmission fluid mixed with gasoline. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Scotch-Brite cookie, and I'll show you when I'll bring the camera in again, but we're going to hit the tops of those standoffs that hold the coil, and then I can also use the same thing just to kind of clean the coil real quick, just this, right, just where we're going to be getting that electrical connection. This was a little harder to get. All right, this came out nice. All right, it's in good shape. That's probably a little bit of black paint. Which looks good. Let's get it together, and I think we can do a test. All right, I got a blade ready. I'm just gonna hit this with the wire wheel, right? We don't want anything to kick the blade up. A little bit of lubricant in here, and I gotta flip it the other way to get to that bearing. I got to this bearing, and I got to the cable back there, and so I'll flip it the other way before we put gas and oil in. Well, it looks good. Right, nice atomic blade. It's in beautiful shape. I didn't paint this, but that's okay. All sharpied up, and the balance was checked on, and it's good. It's a nice blade. All right, I think I got this drilled out enough. I don't know. We'll find out. And they always use the long bolts over here, which is just why. It's like that's what they decided to use. Anyway, take this bolt, right, the shank, make sure it flows nice and free in there, and it's moving nice. I always put a little bit of oil in, and we're going to tighten that back up. We'll put before we put this, well, maybe I'll put the spring in, and I'll show you. We need to adjust this, right? So I'll show you what the adjustment is that I wind up with after I bolt it together. Okay, so we can see it's closed, right? Because it's cold. And then we're going to push it forward all the way to the end. All right, it's actually at the point now where, you know, it would be, well, it's not going to hit the inside of the cover, but you can see it's now off. So the choke plate is open, so the choke is off. Spring is on. And when it's in the closed position, when it's cold, I always like to kind of, just not quite for it to be hitting this tang here, but, you know, a little kind of close. It can be adjusted. And then down in there, I like to put a little bit of oil down in there. You've got to make sure that that is absolutely clean, fellas. If you got to make sure it's clean, wash it with the hose, screwdriver, put a little oil in it, and this should move freely. And it should spring back on its own. So when this is all off, this choke thermostat should spring back on its own, right, with this rod out of the way. And you can see? If it's not doing that, it's dead. And if it's locked, it's dead. The other one I bent, I think, when I was testing with that super powerful pressure washer. That's why I don't like to use like a lot of pressure on any of this stuff in this area. I think we're okay. Let me just give it another quick blow and we can put the top on. So let's see what it does. All right, she runs good. Just a little bit of puke over here, right? We'll get that up when it cools down. Let it smoke a little bit. That's fine, right? Because I used, well, it's got junk all over it. Plus, I put a little oil in down in here, right? But a thermostat, that'll probably make a little bit of smoke. She didn't smoke a lot. The transmission's moving, but it's slipping, but it needs to be adjusted, which is done on the handle. It's a cable adjustment. So I think we're ready to bring it in. Maybe just let it sort of smoke out here a little bit longer. And then we'll bring it in and we'll finish it up. So far, so good. She started like second pull. Probably been years since this thing has run. This looks real good. So I mentioned I already put a bunch of oil on it. So I'm going to work in a bit of this chain wax. And back here where I'm spraying now, if you want, you could put a little dry lube. Like this will dry up into like a wax, almost like a grease. But if you want, you could put, hold on, I just want to get that out of here. So back in here where the two metal surfaces rub together, you could use like a graphite. And here you want more of a greasy oil, all right? And just make sure that the gears are clean and that there's nothing, you know, stuck in them. But I pressure washed that off pretty good. I'm going to hit them. These are the ones that we're using, right? So I'm wondering, I took out another set for that other machine that I have to work on, that the tires are just worn and everything is shot. That's another issue. All right, let me do these, make sure that the adjusters are moving good. Wipe it down, and I'll replace this wheel. And it's the same thing for these adjusters. Get everything moving good. If you have to use penetrant, you know, keep in mind that there are times, like these are in nice shape, but there are times when these things are so frozen, man. I'm putting like, you know, vice grips on and pry bars, but this one will be fine. I think they'll be good. I'll let you know. Be back in a bit. All right, a little stuck. I just wiped it off, but these are dry, so you got to have grease on that. I had to get some penetrant in here to get it to move. It was pretty stuck. And of course, you can't see it now because I wiped it up, but a lot of rusty junk drips out. Oil. Don't forget oil, fellas. You got to get oil in it. You need a lubricant. It starts to move better. And then if you want to follow up with some chain wax and then a little bit of dry lube, blow in between with some compressed air, right, to get it to move properly. I got to do the other one and replace the broken tire. And then that part's done. All right, before I take it off the bench, all right, so this is the drive cable. See all of that? That's a lot. We're just going to take that slack out. Loosen this up, pull this cable back, put a little lube on it. I already did earlier. But we'll just kind of take this slack out. Don't go crazy with it. Try that out. And then we should see, because it's really easy. It shouldn't be quite that easy. Put a little lubricant up, you know, in these areas, just a little bit so it's not so squeaky. All right. And then, you know, maybe a tie wrap. Maybe over here. You know, like one right there would be nice. And then thread these out and put some lubricant on them and thread them back in again. If they're jammed, get them working again, because this is like a stow and go handle. So you want to be able to demonstrate that for a customer. So let me see if I want to, I'm thinking about whether I want to clean that up. I might. It's just a quick look before I give it its sort of clean up. Clean up. All right, its final spit shine. All right, I'll be back. All right, you can see here some very simple techniques, right? See how I'm fading? I'm using very little paint, fellas. Remember all that gack down there? We're going to put some clear on it next. But I like to put the clear on when things are a little tacky and a little wet. That Rust-Oleum paint that I like, the implement paint, that takes a long time to really dry. But I want to get the clear on once it starts to tack. See? And I'm just going to give it a little bit more time. You can use a Krylon, which dries a lot faster, but the pigments are weird. So I tend to reserve those, and it's also not as good, right? It requires a lot more paint. All right, we'll be back when it's done.